All right, you finna go to get started. All right, give me 1 second. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast, episode number 85, talking about discussing the journey. So, yeah, we're definitely gonna get into this one right here. If you're in here right now, make sure to leave a comment just like you was in here. And like I said, make sure you tap in and say what's good. Appreciate it. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so a few things I want to mention. To start off, this is the last podcast that I will be doing at the age of 20, right? I started this earlier this year in January, so almost a year doing it and almost an entire year um, of me being this age and doing this. So definitely looking forward to the next podcast, which will be on my birthday. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. Other than that, make sure you go ahead and tap in with the TikTok. It's just Life of a Champ podcast on TikTok. Also, if you are not caught up with my YouTube shorts, make sure you go ahead and tap in with those as well. Just shorter clips of the podcast, like usually going to be about 60 seconds to anywhere from 60 seconds to about 2 minutes. So tap in with that for sure. Other than that, I do also have some shorter clips that are of the podcast that are not exactly shorts. So if you're interested in still hearing the podcast and still hearing the knowledge that I'm going to drop, but you can't catch a full podcast or catch it when it's live, make sure you go and tap in with that, as that is something I'll be posting definitely all of next year for sure. We'll go ahead and get it started. Hello, champ. How are you doing today? Shout out to KJ. Appreciate for talking about my dog. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. Can't complain, man. Can't complain, man. If I'm not doing terrible, then I'm doing great, man. Simple as that, man. But yeah, so discussing the journey. Also, if there's something that you want to mention when either questions or rather comments that you have that you think I should make or want my opinion on regarding the journey itself, make sure you go ahead and leave in the comments. But yeah, so I'm gonna be talking about, like I said, my views on the journey. And when I say the journey, I mean the journey of life, right? So I'm gonna talk about that as well, and then I'm also gonna give you my insight on how my journey is going and kind of the insights that I have and have applied to my own life. So yeah, that's where we're gonna go ahead and start to get. That's how we're gonna go ahead and get it started. So yeah, we're discussing the journey. One thing that I want to mention early on, and this is something that I need everybody to do. But it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. This is something that you must do, and you must learn to accept, right? And this is embrace all moments of the journey, right? Within the journey, there's going to be plenty of great moments if you make them for yourself, right? And there's also going to be plenty of low moments and less than desirable moments. But in order to have those great moments, you're going to need to have those uncomfortable moments. You're going to need to have moments that are going to be less than great, right? And that's what also makes those great moments so sweet, right? Is the fact that you have that perspective, you have that juxtaposition, right, where you have something that's great and something that's less than great, right? So you got to learn to embrace all these things, and that's something that at times can be hard to accept and hard to really internalize, right? There's been a lot of moments where you can get caught up in the moment. Honestly, that's really what it is, right? Where you just get lost in the moment. I think it's just as simple as that, right? So I do believe that yeah, you need to embrace all the moments, right? You can't take any moment for granted, specifically good moments, and you can't let the moments that are going to be low moments, you can't let them get you down because they are temporary, right? And with those temporary moments, like I said, you need to embrace them and you need to accept that in order to have any other moment, you would need to have um, that moment that's going to be less than desirable or something that's great as well. But yeah, like I kind of mentioned, right? All the moments in this journey of life are going to be temporary. So, like I said, the great moments, your greatest successes and your best accomplishments that you've ever achieved, are going to be moments that are going to be temporary. So you need to savor them, and you also need to not only savor them, but you need to learn to accept that was a past version of yourself. So let's just say it happens, and let's just say like 2 or 3 days go by. That was, even though it was still pretty recent, that was still a past version of yourself, right? What is next? You should be always looking to what is next. Like I said, if you do accomplish something, there is going to be plenty of celebration that needs to be had, right? You need to go ahead and express that emotion properly because that is definitely an emotion worth expressing properly, right? But understanding that after a few days, the work still needs to be put in, and there's going to be the next mountain that you're going to need to go ahead and climb. So, um, yeah, that's how we're gonna get started. Hold on, give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, and then also with bad moments, right? The bad moments are going to come and go, right? You can't just say, "Hey, this is a bad moment. This is how it's always going to be." You cannot believe that. You must not believe that because that isn't the reality, right? That isn't the reality of life, right? Life is not meant to be only negative moments. And if you're a person experiencing only negative moments in life, you need to have faith. You must have faith, right? There's no point of living if you do not have faith in this life, right? You need to have faith that if you put in enough work, if you wait it out long enough, that the good moments are going to come. And obviously, they're just not going to fall out of the sky, right? You need to go ahead and make them for yourself, right? And I feel like a lot of people kind of just see other people kind of have those good moments, and it looks like it's coming easy to them. But just know that it's going to come easier. It's going to come easier to some, and it's also going to be worthwhile if you do put in the time. Do have those bad moments, do have those less than desirable moments. It's going to be worthwhile, right? And that's something that you need to really internalize, right? You need to have that mindset when you're in those down moments, saying, "Hey, this is all going to be worth something," right? This moment right here is, it sucks right now, but quite frankly, this is going to make that great moment that I accomplish so much better because I've had this moment, and I can speak on this moment, right? And I feel like that's very, very important to be able to speak on that and be able to, show some perspective on the times of where you're not living exactly the way that you would like, right? This goes for everybody. This goes for everybody. Everybody goes through these uh these pitfalls pretty much. Give me one second. Okay. Yeah, man. Right now I'm in the slumps, but I'm working on myself with better relationships, personal things in myself, and like getting gains, of course, come on now, eating healthy, and through all the downfalls, I will be back on, and I won't stop the grind because of that is quitting. I don't quit exactly. See, you have the great mindset, right? Obviously, you recognize where you are, and it is okay to recognize that you're in a less than desirable spot. But like I said, you must have faith. You must have a resilient mindset that's going to say, "Hey, you know, I need to put the work in." You got to be able to. I hate using this word, but you got to be able to humble yourself in that way, right? But yeah, yeah. Like I said, you must believe that what you're doing is correct. And of course, there's going to be plenty of times where you're going to need to go ahead and correct course, right? You're going to learn something new. You're going to meet a certain person, and you're going to need to go ahead and act accordingly with that, right? But you must believe that what you're doing it for a reason, and you should have the reasons, realistically speaking, right? That reinforce the decisions that you make and the actions that you take, right? And like he has that mindset, right? Just quitting is not an option. Make sure quitting is not an option within this journey, right? Quitting this journey of life is not an option. It's not. It should never be an option. You should never consider it to be an option, because the second you start to consider it to be an option is the second you start to go in a downward spiral, right? Your whole life starts to go in a downward spiral. And like I said, if you're trying to live the best life you possibly can, which watching this podcast you should be trying to live the best life that you possibly can, then you must not believe that quitting is an option, because it's not. It's not an option at all. And I'm going to use this cliche saying because, of course, it wouldn't be right if I made a podcast like this and not mention this, right? But it's about the journey, not the destination. And it's hard for people to internalize that. And even me, hearing that a few years ago, right? That's something that I was like, what the hell are you talking about, right? It didn't really stick with me. I really didn't see it all the way through, right? And a lot of people, struggle with that, or they just hear it and they're just like, yeah, whatever, whatever. And I was the same way. So, but understanding that, like I said, you need to embrace all the good moments and all the bad moments, right? You're going to have your highs, you're going to have your lows, and you're going to have, like I said, just moments that are worth living, and moments that it feels like you could live without, but you can't. But yeah, learn to embrace the journey. Learn to embrace the daily grind. Learn to embrace all of the hardships of the journey, because if you do, you're going to be much better. You're going to be in a much better life position than the person who is just lusting after the destination. Because if you're a person that gets discouraged quickly because you're so focused on the destination, when you have those hard moments, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to bounce back, because the person who's in love with the journey is just going to continue doing the journey and not have a second, not never second guess the journey, never second guess the trials and tribulations that that person will go through, right? They'll just accept it as what it is, and push forth and continue to try to make progress, and to try to strive to be better. But yeah, you need to fall in love with the process. You need to fall in love with the journey, because the journey is The journey is where you get the real experience. The journey is it's you like I said, you gotta love the journey. You gotta learn to love the journey because you should not be so destination focused because if you get there, if you're so destination focused and you actually manage to get there, being destination focused, right? What's next? Right? And if you don't have that thoroughly planned out, then it's life is gonna seem a little less fulfilling than it possibly can feel, right? But if you focus on the journey, you're eventually gonna get to the destination, and you're gonna go past anywhere where you could have imagined the destination ended being. So, like I said, learn to fall in love with the journey, and specifically, do not be so destination focused. Understand that if you focus on the journey, the destination will be where it is, and I think it's as simple as that, right? Depending on how you love the journey, and depending on your daily grind of the journey, will dictate where the destination will be, anyways. So as long as you're focused, and this kind of goes hand in hand with something that I mentioned on a previous podcast, talking about systems and goals, right? People should not be so goal focused, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't make goals. I'm saying that you should not pedestalize goals. You should understand that goals are a byproduct of the system that you instill, right? And same thing, right? The destination is a byproduct of how the journey goes. And like I said, you need to embrace all those moments. The process, champ 2022, exactly. Come on now, the process, fellas. Come on now, you know what time it is, man. And one thing I want to mention with this, enjoying the journey and things like that. This is a paradigm that I came to, and this is something that I would say a little bit interesting for sure. And it was this paradigm that I'm glad that I haven't exactly blown up yet, because I do feel like there is, for whatever reason, whether I would like to admit it or not, whether I would like to think it or not, I do believe that there is certain things that I need to go through. There's certain experiences that I need to have, and there's certain moments, like I said, maybe even watching with no, or maybe even doing something like this with no viewers at all, right? It is a very, very interesting time, I'll say the least, right? You got to have that mindset, right? And I do believe that I'm just glad that I haven't blown up yet, because there is still things that I need to learn from and experience before I get to the spot where I will eventually be, right? And yeah, like I said, not a lot of people can say that. Not a lot of people are in a position where they kind of have that viewpoint in my position, where they're saying, "Hey, I'm glad that I haven't done that yet, because I recognize that there's still things that need to be checked off, right? There's still things that I need to think about. There's still problems that I need to solve, right? There's still, like I said, things that just need to be thoroughly thought out. So, yeah, I'm grateful for where I am in the position that I'm in, whether people deem to be a favorable position or rather not, right? Being accepting in certain circumstances and coming to terms with where you are and understanding where you're trying to go is definitely going to be pivotal and definitely very, very key for all the people watching, for sure. So if you're a person right now watching this, right, and you're not exactly where you want to be, you need to understand that there is still things you need to learn in order to get to where you want to get to. And here's the thing: if there wasn't, then you'd already be there, right? So accept the fact that you still need to learn something, you still need to experience something, and that is okay. Everybody's at their own pace, right? Everybody's at their own pace, and you should not get caught up in comparing yourself to somebody else, right? I feel like that should be used as motivation, but that shouldn't be used as something that you're gonna put yourself down about, right? I really don't believe in putting myself down. I rather use that as motivation. Let's just say, for example, right? There's people who have a podcast, who have less episodes, who put in less time, who put in less thought, and are doing better than I am within this podcast, or within the podcast game. Let's just say that for sure, right? But here's the thing, right? When I think the best way to really phrase it is, hey, my peak's going to be longer and better, right? Thinking like that, because I'm laying down the foundation. You watching this, you need to be laying down the foundation. And if you lay down the foundation, your peak is going to be longer, and it's going to be greater than the people who have not put in the work as much as you have. You must believe that. You must believe that, because if you do not believe that, then you're creating a mindset that is going to eventually be defeating. And on this podcast, we do not talk about defeating mindsets. We talk about only undefeated mindsets on here, man. But yeah, understand that there's things that you need to experience, and the reason why you're not at where you need to be or where you think you should be is because you haven't put enough work in. You haven't had enough experiences. You haven't met the person that maybe you needed to meet. Maybe you haven't lived the day that you needed to live, right? And I think it's just as simple as that, right? Play the long game. Don't play the short game like most of these people. Most of these people just want to get rich quick. Most of these people want to, like I said, have things given to them. Understand that life is not something where, you know, things can just be given to you. Understand that you need to work for these things. And the best people put in the work when nobody was watching. It doesn't matter what it is. The best people somehow, some way, put in the work when nobody was looking, right? And that is what I'm doing right now, and that is what you should be doing. You should be putting in the work that no one claps for besides yourself, right? Getting your, I talked about, I think I thought about this before. Getting in your small victories, right? Getting in your private victories specifically, and the more you stack your private victories, the more public victories you will reap later on. You must believe that. You must believe that. So if you're in it right now, I appreciate you for stopping by. Make sure you go and leave a comment just like I see who's in here. If you're watching this, make sure you go and leave a comment saying your favorite parts. Also, if you have any comments regarding the process, the journey itself, make sure you go and leave in the comments as well. Appreciate it. And shout out to Heem. I was working out with Heem earlier today. Shout out to Heem. He made a good point when I was giving him this topic for today. He made this good point, and this is something that I really need to reiterate for sure. Is understanding that you need to do the most with what you got, right? A lot of people are going to be placed in different scenarios, right? Let's just say somebody has a more favorable life in this regard, right? So let's just say somebody's less favorable; they're in a less favorable position than most people, right? Either or, at the end of the day, you still need to do the best with what you got, right? It's do your best regardless, but understand that maybe you're not in the most fortunate position. Maybe you are in a very very fortunate position, right? Understanding where you lie within this and still choosing to put in the extra work because you know you need to put in more work. Or maybe you're in a favorable position, but you do not want your progress to be detracted because you are in that favorable position. You don't want that to be a downfall of you because you were placed in that position, right? You should be wanting to prove something to yourself and to prove something to the world. And even though let's just say for example for the person that was easily given to them, right? Understand that just as easy as it was given to you is just as easy as it can be taken away, right? And a lot of people do not have that mind frame, but you must believe that if something comes quick, maybe it can even go quicker. I think it's as simple as that, right? And if you're a person in a less favorable position in life, right, understand that like I said, you must believe your time is coming. You still need to put in the work. You still need to do the best with what you got. Do the best with what you got because that's all you can do and that's all you should be doing regardless. Champ knows that it's about the long term and that nobody will get things easy, but somehow the greats still get it done with what they have. Exactly, right? It doesn't matter your circumstance, right? And here's the thing. Here's the way I like to look at it, right? If you start from a less favorable position, right? It's more of an inspiring story anyways, right? If you did make it, if you did accomplish all the things that you set out to accomplish, it's going to make that story so much better, isn't it? Than the person who was just given these things and was able to accomplish something. Now, if you're a person who comes from a less favorable position, not only are you going to be able to tell a more inspiring story, but you're able to just like I said have a more relatable story as well because there's going to be a lot more people who are going to be able to relate to somebody who's coming from a less fortunate position. So understand that you will increase your relatability and you will increase the inspiration that you give to others by being in a less than fortunate situation and still prevailing for sure. It's as simple as that. And another thing I want to mention is this is something that I feel people really need to key in on, and this is something that I'm going to reiterate time and time again because I've been thankful enough to have enough supportive people in my life. Right, I've cultivated a group of people who have been nothing but the best in my opinion, and absolute great supporters. Right, and if you don't have these, I would say you need to strive and do the best, and maybe even do intentional work to try to get these people on your side. Right, surround yourself with people who make the journey worthwhile, right? That is something that I have done. And this is something that not only have I have done, but something that, I'm just thankful to be in the position that I'm in right now, right? Just being thankful for those things as well. Maybe you're in a position where you don't have that many people who really make the journey feel like it's worth living, right? You need to find those people. That means you need to develop a skill. You need to develop a skill, maybe even getting out more, maybe even meeting new people, right? You need to put yourself in a position and not complain about the position that you're in. Put yourself in position to win Do not complain about the circumstance that you're temporarily in. I think it's just as simple as that, right? Like I said, for me, for example, right? I'm thankful to be in a position where I've cultivated a lot of great people around me, right? I have a lot of great supporters. I have a lot of great people in my life, and that makes the journey that much better. And it's going to make that journey a lot more savory when I get to the end of, or I won't say the end, when I'm going to be in a position where, let's just say, a better position than I'm in right now, right? It's going to be so much better to live with those people. And like I said, if you're a person that does not have what you would feel to be enough supporters or enough people who are making the journey feel like it's worthwhile, then like I said, you need to develop a skill. You need to see that as not a problem, but you need to see that as a solution for yourself, right? Put yourself in a position to win. All right. Example: Messi won the World Cup. Yeah, solidifies him as a GOAT. Sure. Um, yeah. See, look at there's if you look at anybody's story, right? If you look at anybody's story, there's always going to be those moments that are going to be less than ideal, right? No matter whose story you look at, right? There's not going to be a person where like, you know what, it was just lined up for him that way. It was just a perfect story through and through. It's very very rare. Right? A lot of the great people who are great at their craft, they had to go through hardship at one point, right? And maybe your hardship is right now. But here's the thing: it doesn't always have to be that way, right? It doesn't always have to be that way. And understand that what story do you want to write? What does the ending look like to you? Because you're the only one that's in control of this, right? When it comes down to it, right? You make the journey as great as it can get. You make the journey as bad as it can get. Of course, there's going to be external things that happen that make the journey either better or worse. But understand that you watching this, I would hope that you take full responsibility and accountability for your life, right? If you're a person who is just shifting the blame all the time or shifting the credit all the time, then I do believe that you need to take some more personal accountability and responsibility for your situation, right? That is something that I'll always be an advocate for sure. But like I said, understand that everybody in some type of way, in some type of fashion, is coming from less than favorable position. Even the people who grow up rich, right? They don't see, they have a missing paradigm. They truly have a missing paradigm, and who knows? Maybe that can affect them in a life decision, and they would be literally unconscious of that even being a thing that's affecting them, right? They have a missing paradigm. They're a lot less easy to relate to, right? So you got to look at it like that, right? Even the people who are in the most favorable positions still have downfalls and still have cracks within the foundation, just like everybody else, right? But like I had mentioned, right? Understand that you need to embrace and learn from all of the moments within the journey. The journey is the journey is temporary, right? The journey is temporary. The destination is also temporary as well. But you need to enjoy the journey because life and the journey of life is not a race, man. It's not a race. And I'm sure you watching this probably have heard that, right? It's not a race. We're in a marathon, fellas. We're in a marathon. And if you want to beat them on the last lap, put the work in right now and you eventually will. It's as simple as that. Yeah, but like I had mentioned, right, you need to have faith that better days will come. Better days will come. If you put in enough work and manifest the good moments, think about the good moments. If you focus on the good moments and do not always focus on the negative moments, then the good moments will always be there. Now, like I said, I do realize that people, when talking about the journey, there's going to be a lot of people watching this, like I said, are not going to be in the most favorable positions, and you could be down and out you can be down and out in the position that life's chosen for you, right? But like I'd mentioned, right, you need to understand and use all the negatives to your advantage, right? You get to have this specific, unique paradigm, and if you make it out on top, making out where you want to be, that story is going to be so much better. No one wants to hear the story saying, "Hey, everything went perfect." I don't, right? I don't find relatability in that. I truly don't. I can't relate to somebody who's done it 100% perfect all the time. Even the people who claim to have a perfect journey truly do not have a perfect journey. You make things perfect. You make things ideal for yourself, or you make them not ideal for yourself, right? It just depends on the system of beliefs you have. Yeah, KJ's exactly right. KJ's exactly right, right? Like I had mentioned, the people who, grow up a little bit more fortunate, they just have a missing paradigm. They have a missing element, maybe even a killer instinct because they've just been, gifted everything. They just have a missing element, man. And maybe when it comes to, a person that has not been in that same favorable position, maybe if it comes down to it, the person who, is in the less favorable position, it would choose a certain situation in life that could be potentially better because they've had different experiences, right? And of course, this is all hypothetical scenarios, but I hope you understand at least what I'm trying to explain, right? But yeah, that is discussing the journey. Do you guys have any questions? If you're watching this, make sure to go and leave a like on the video. But if you guys have any questions regarding any of the things that I had mentioned, make sure to go and leave them in the comments. Also, if you this is totally unrelated, but if you have any improvements, suggestions regarding um anything regarding the podcast that you think I could make better, make sure to leave in the comments. Good times are always better when you've had to go through some bad moments first. Exactly, Jaden is completely right. Jaden's completely right. But like I said, a lot of people just get caught up in the bad moments, and I'm a person who's never going to get caught up in the bad moments because I understand that they're temporary. A lot of people are convinced, truly convinced that these bad moments are going to be here forever, right? And those are the people who truly lose in this life. The ones who are either okay with it or think that's how it's always going to be. That's my point of view. They just either get super satisfied or get too content with where they are, even if they're in a less than fortunate situation, or maybe they just don't want to put in enough work, man. Maybe they just truly don't believe that there's going to be better times ahead, which is not true. Which was one certain downfall you had in your journey, whether it was the podcast or anything in your life? Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Um, I would say, huh? Because here's the thing, I'm such a I think optimistically about life in general, right? Of course, at times obviously you need to be a realist, but what is one certain downfall that I've had? I just don't focus on the downfalls. I really don't, right? I think about all the positive things. I do not surround myself with the downfalls. But if I had to choose one certain downfall, hmm, like I said, man, I don't even think about these things. I don't think about it because quite frankly, it's not gonna be in my best interest. Um, a downfall specifically. I've also been blessed, very very blessed to have less than or a lot less, downfall moments than most people, right? And I could speak on these things because you know I've had those moments. I've had those moments to an extent, but I haven't had the worst of the worst moments, right? I've been grateful to not have those absolutely terrible moments, right? And who knows, those are going to be yet to come, right? Those are going to come in the future. Who knows, right? But if I could say one downfall, I don't think in terms of downfalls, quite frankly. Um, I feel like every single downfall has been within my control, right? A lot of people's downfalls are within their control, right? Any of my downfalls that I've had have been something that I could have controlled or could have changed myself. Um, I don't even know if you consider it a downfall. Like I said, I don't. Everything that I think about that could be a potential downfall is something that I chose to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could say I'm thankful. I'm just so thankful for the position that I'm in. I can't even think of one honestly. I really can't. Because like I said, I could say my ex breaking up with me is a downfall, right? I could say me not having the most money, to start the podcast. I could say things like that that would be considered a downfall. But I'm just so optimistic, and I have great people around me, And I look at, even the losses and the downfalls. I look at them from a positive paradigm, anyways. So that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to frame that. My bad about that. But you have to overcome those things in your path and keep exactly. Like I said, I'm optimistic, man. I'm optimistic, man. I'm going to be thinking in terms of me not losing, because it's not it's it, that's life is just better. Life is better when you put yourself in a position to win like that. Good mindset, brother. Keep your head up, champ. The sky is the limit, right? Like Big Sean said, create my blueprint so my life got no ceiling, man. Simple as that, right? Let me see what he said. Hold up. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I feel like that's another thing people need to take into account, right? And I kind of talked about that a little bit, right? Even using your downfalls, using all the negative experiences that you've ever had, and using that to your advantage in some regard. There's going to be certain advantages that you're going to have with this for you to go the extra mile, right? And the example that I used the other day is, let's just say you have let's just think of one scenario in your life that could be potentially one of the worst moments of your life, right? Like let's just say a parent passing away or something like that, right? With that being said, you could change your mindset, saying, hey, okay, obviously that is a less than unfortunate situation, but it creates a bigger why for yourself, right? Any downfall, any negative outcome that you ever have should be used in a positive light, saying, hey, this needs to be a bigger reason to increase my why. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be used as fuel for the why. And this is something that I've talked about on the podcast before. Creating your why and making sure you have a strong reason for the things that you are doing is going to lead you down a better life and down a better path, and is going to give you motivation and give you the self-discipline that you're going to need in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve in this life. It's as simple as that. Um, yeah, it is just as simple as that, quite frankly, right? Using those things, like I said, as fuel for the why. You lose a parent, saying, hey, you know what? There's going to be a lot of experiences that I wish I could have had with that parent, but now I'm going to make sure I live out those experiences because I know that parent is going to be looking down on me, right? And they want the best for my life, and because they want the best for my life, I should want the best for my life. Creating a greater reason for why. You can give me a negative scenario, and I will try to use it for the better, right? You should always frame your most negative situations in life in a positive way, because if you don't, truly they can eat you alive. They can truly eat you alive. They can take away rather than give, right? And everything should be trying to give in this life. Everything in this life should be viewed as something that is giving. I don't view it any other way. I don't view it any other way. And I do believe that's what I would deem to be the most ideal situation that I can possibly live. So that is what I create for myself. That is what I create for myself. Yeah, I do have a unique paradigm. A lot of people can relate. A lot of people can't relate, right? But I try to understand where I'm coming from, and hopefully, maybe you could take something away from that. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for interacting. KJ, Jaden, appreciate for interacting for sure. Like I said, if you guys have any questions or want my life lens on something, make sure to leave in the comments. Lift was up today. Lift was up today, fellas. Lift was up today. I ain't gonna lie, man. This is the last podcast that I will have at 20, man. That's so crazy, man. That's so crazy. Had a good run, fellas. At 20, we had a good run, fellas. We had a good run, man. I ain't gonna lie. 85 podcasts deep. 85 podcasts deep at the age of 20, man. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, I would say. Pretty solid, in my opinion. Could have been better, but it's pretty damn good. Pretty damn good for sure. So, and that's always gonna be on my mindset on anything, man. It could be better, man. It still could be better, but you gotta be able to appreciate the moments, appreciate your accomplishments every now and then. But understand, tomorrow rolls around, and like I said, 2 days rolls around, and I'm back to creating one podcast at the age of 21. And we're back to square one, fellas. You gotta keep reminding yourself that, like I said, this is not something you're never gonna be 100% satisfied. That's another thing, which is performance leg day is today's Tuesday. It's probably gonna be this weekend, Saturday probably. Friday or Saturday, I think so. Like I said, I've restructured my days, and I explained this to you, KJ. I've restructured my days. So today was chest and buys. Then it's gonna be back and tries, and then what else we got? Wednesday is going to be shoulders, and then it's performance leg day. So I think Friday, performance leg day, and then back to chest and tries. But yeah, I appreciate everyone stopping by. I'm gonna go ahead and end this one off here in a minute. But like I said, if you have any more questions pertaining to the podcast, make sure you go ahead and leave in the comments. I want to reiterate this one point. I think this is so pivotal, man. Surround yourself with people who make the journey worthwhile, right? It is not worth this journey is not worth being surrounded by people who don't want the best for you, right? Who truly do not want the best for you. Make sure you remove those people. No matter how hard it is, no matter who that person is in your life, if they are not contributing to the best life you possibly can live in the most healthy way, it is worth at the very least considering getting rid of them. It is at or limiting your time with them if you can't completely get rid of them, right? That is something that you should seriously take into account because you need to surround yourself with people who make the journey worthwhile, right? I've surrounded myself with plenty of people. Shout out to KJ, shout out to Anthony, shout out to Heem, shout out to all my supporters, man. They make the journey worth living, right? They make the journey easier to have, right? Um, my downfalls, I can always go to those people, and they're always going to lift me up, right? And here's the thing: if I do have a downfall, just know that I'm not going to be in the rut for a very long time because of those people as well. All right, and if you surround yourself with people like that, it's hard to lose, man. It's hard. It's truly hard to lose. It's truly hard to be down terrible for a long time. It's truly hard, right? I'd have to intentionally try to do that because it's so natural to get past those moments. It's so natural to get past those moments. So, like I'd mentioned, hopefully you watching this can surround yourself with people who are going to be putting you in a position to win and, like I said, making the journey worthwhile. Because this journey is a long one. And at the very least, do not be pessimistic and say, oh well, actually it's really not that long, right? Understand that this is a long journey for some of us, and your mind frame should be in that. Hey, it is gonna. We're here for a long time and a good time. Even if that's not your that's not your situation, still believing that you're here for a long time and a good time, fellas. We ain't here for a good time, not a long time. We're here for a long time and a good time, fellas. Come on now. But yeah, fellas, the next podcast is going to be on Thursday, the 22nd, my 21st birthday. I'll be having the podcast. Probably around the same time. Probably about 7 o'clock as well. Should be a good one for sure. Down right there, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things. Also, if you have a specific topic you want me to talk about and cover on the 86 podcast, also known as my birthday, make sure you go and leave in the comments. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about all the podcasts that I've created, kind of all the ways and all the phases that I went through when I was 20, when I am 20, right? Yeah, I just wrapping it up, man. Just wrapping it up, man, and getting into. I would say, yeah, I'm also going to be talking about getting into what I need to get into, which is going to be the future. What is this year of 21 look like for me, right? You need to be thinking this out. Hey, I appreciate it, KJ. I appreciate the compliment, man. I do my best with what I got, man. But yeah, fellas, I appreciate you for stopping by. Yeah, I'll go ahead and end it off, man. Like I said, make sure you out here embracing the journey, embrace the good moments, embrace the bad moments. Understand that journey is going to be a long one. And on top of that, the destination is not a worthy pursuit. Rather, the journey and having a great time on the journey is a better pursuit to have because eventually you will reach the destinations and reach the heights that you could have only dreamed of. Yeah, I would 1,000% agree with you, my guy. You need to be future focused, man. Future focused, man. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the recognition. Other than that, fellas, this was episode number 85 of the Life of a Champ podcast discussing the journey. Like I said, shout out to everybody who's my biggest supporter, man. KJ, shout out to you, man. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to him, man. Y'all hold it down for me, man. Y'all hold it down for me, man. Other than that, I'll go ahead and end it off with the motto, man. The last time talking about the motto, being 20, man. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all working these motherfuckers every single day, and never skip a day when you're not working out. When you're not outworking these motherfuckers, come on now. Y'all have a good night, and like I said, until the next podcast, which is going to be on Thursday. Y'all have a good night, man.